If you're using Excel to store lists of data, but running into Excel's limitations when it comes to reporting or linking to related sets of data, you might consider converting that Excel data into a FileMaker Pro database or database table. Now, you want to make sure before you do it that your Excel data is arranged neatly in columns and rows in a tabular kind of structure or table type of structure, as this is. But you also want to make sure that the data has a header row, that is, a row of labels at its top that describe it. So mine's missing that. I'm going to go ahead and insert a new row here in Excel and then just add those labels, because FileMaker then will be able to pick up on those labels and use them as the field names in the new database table that it's going to create. There we go. Now we can only import or convert one Excel worksheet at a time. You'll notice that my workbook has two worksheets, the sales sheet and the product sheet. Okay, so we'll have to do those one at a time. I'm going to go ahead and save the changes that I just made. And now the Excel workbook doesn't need to be open in order for this to happen, so I'll go ahead and quit Excel, and then I'm going to launch FileMaker. And when the FileMaker Quick Start screen comes up, we'll just browse. And what we really want to do is go and open that Excel file right into FileMaker. It lives on the desktop, as you can see here, but it's grayed out. So all we need to do is ask FileMaker to allow us to work with files of type other than FileMaker Pro. We could say all available, or at the very least, Excel Workbook. Note that this would work just as well with the older Excel format, the old .xls format, and it also works just as well on PCs as it is on this Mac. Now I can highlight the Sales Workbook, open, and the first thing FileMaker asks about that workbook is which of the two worksheets we're trying to create this new database out of. Now with this approach we're taking, and I'll go ahead and leave it set to Sales, it's going to create a new database file as well as a table inside that file. Later I'll show you how to create a new table, but without having to create a whole new file as well. The second question asks about those field names. And remember why we gave that, or we added that new row at the top of the Excel worksheet? Because we didn't want FileMaker to have to use generic names like F1, F2 for field 1, field 2, field 3. We wanted it to be able to pick up on the first row of data being used as field names. Saves us a bunch of time. We'll say OK. It asks where we want to put this new file and what we want to call it. I'll clean up the name a little bit and save. It creates the new file. You can see that over here on the desktop, sales.fp7. And inside that file, we can see that it created a new table, a single table, with 6 fields in it. It did a great job of determining what type of field data was in each of those columns back in the Excel data. But that doesn't stop us from making improvements and changes if we need to as well, like converting this total field to a calculation field, because we want it to be the result of quantity times price. We'll say OK there, and OK again. Now, FileMaker, in addition to creating the new database, the new table, the new fields, it created 2 new layouts. Layout number 2 is a table view layout, where you can work with your FileMaker data in an environment very similar to Excel, something that all Excel users are going to instantly feel comfortable in. You can do some things here in FileMaker's table view, though, that you can't do in Excel. For example, simply by clicking a column heading, you sort the data by that column. Here I'll do it by region. You can also pick up a column and just move it to rearrange the columns. The other layout FileMaker created was layout number 1, a more traditional form view layout, where you can see one record at a time and use the book to flip from record to record. Alright, so now let's say we've got a FileMaker database and we want to import some Excel data into it rather than starting up a whole new FileMaker database. So instead of using the open command, we would say import records, import from a file, notice that it supports importing of Excel files. And I've got that other worksheet that was in the sales file that we're going to bring in now, the product sheet. Select product, continue. Now we don't want to import the product data into the sales table. That's when we use this little trick here. We ask FileMaker to make a new table out of this incoming Excel data. And we want to tell it not to import the first record because that first record contains field names. There we go. It's going to create a new table, new fields automatically, and import all the records. We'll click import. It brought in 8 new records. OK. And there we go. So that's how easy it is to move your data from Excel into a truly relational FileMaker database.